Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. This is Julie Bruns, and you are about to be inspired. I am so excited to share my conversations with amazing people from all walks of life who figured out how to be happy, peaceful, and content doing what they love and making the world a better place so that you can see what's possible for your life. I can't wait to hear what you think. Send me an email and let me know one thing you're taking away from this episode. And never forget, anything really is possible. All right, welcome everyone. My guest today is Chris Block. And Chris is a brand new person in my life that I've never spoken to before. But Chris, I kind of feel like I know you because you were in a movie that I saw recently. And so the movie is called Adapting to Dive. And it is about, well, it's about a lot of cool things, but I just want to say that the premiere was recently. My husband and I went, Chris. So we know Jim Elliott from the Diveheart organization, and Jim was on my podcast last year, him and Tina Marie. I'm inspired by the work they do. My husband's helped him a little bit too. And they're like, come to this premiere and check out this great movie about diving and all the cool things that are happening with our organization and what we do. So I was thrilled to go. And you're in the movie, and your inspiring story was, all the stories were amazing. My husband and I left there. I'm like, it's just such a cool movie. And the stories are amazing. And I thought I wanted to reach out to you because you had such a great light and spirit. And I just wanted to talk to you more. And thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Oh, it's so good to meet you. So tell everyone what you like, how, if whatever I would like to know what you do, because I know you have a regular full-time job and you're not just a movie star kind of, but what you do now and like what your journey's been and how you are living your life so happily and with your great spirit.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm an engineer by training, or, in terms of my schooling, but after breaking my neck and trying to get back into the job market, I struggled actually to find a job back in the engineering field. And about 2 years ago, actually, a high school colleague of mine reached out and told me about a job opportunity actually in logistics. So I work in freight. I'm a freight broker. I had no clue what that was 2 years ago, but essentially I help my customers ship whatever they need to ship, wherever they need to ship it.
Which is a booming business right now, right? I mean,
I suppose
it is.
With fuel and with everybody having to get, materials and supplies everywhere, there will kind of always be a need for shipping and logistics. So it's an interesting field to be in for sure. Yes,
did you go to school to be an engineer, Chris?
I did. I did actually both my undergraduate and my master's at Virginia Tech, right in a row. So my entire life, I've sort of been a car freak, I guess you could say. I actually drove a car for the first time when I was 3 years old. I don't even remember said occurrence, but my mom was in the shower with my infant sister, and somehow I figured out how to not just find her keys, but open the garage, turn on the vehicle, shift it into reverse, pull all the way out of the driveway. And I went up to my mom crying, actually, when the back tire had touched the curb, because I knew I'd done something wrong. I went into the street, and my mom said, "Oh my God, Chris, what have you done?" I guess from then on, I knew I was kind of going to be a big time car person. So auto shop in high school kind of also did a springboard thing to help me learn more and more about, internal combustion engines and, how things work and whatnot. That led me to being extremely confident that I wanted to do mechanical engineering.
Okay.
I visited Virginia Tech and never looked back. Blacksburg, Virginia is breathtaking. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I fell in love with the campus. Went to school there. Obviously, I did my undergraduate, in the 4 years, and about 2.5 or 2 years into living there, I really enjoyed my Jeep that got ridiculous bad fuel economy because I put a big engine in it in high school. And I was learning more and more about diesel and alternative fuels. So actually in April of 2007, I converted my first vehicle to run on cooking oil. And so I did that for like 7 years, both straight used cooking oil, as well as essentially a couple years into converting vehicles and running on used cooking oil, I started a senior design project researching biodiesel and cooking oil. And Virginia Tech offered me a graduate research assistantship. They said, "How about if you get a free degree?" And I said, "Okay."
Wow, that's
So
so
that's how
cool.
that happened. And then
That's
I
so
moved to
cool.
Indiana, basically to get a job with the biggest diesel engine manufacturer in the world. I lived in Indiana for 6 or 7 years, and one freak Saturday afternoon, I got into a bicycle accident um, and broke my fifth vertebrae. And essentially, from then on, I was trying to figure out what were the fun, exciting activities I could do to. Well, there was a 6 month or a year-long process right after I broke my neck, just rehabilitation, figuring out how to
What year
get
was that, Chris?
the body. 2016.
Okay.
And when I was getting out of inpatient rehabilitation, I saw some flyers for Diveheart. And I, definitely didn't want to stay confined to my mother's, house for the rest of my life. I wanted to figure out how I was going to get out and enjoy myself and explore. And so I got in touch with Diveheart probably 9 months or a year after my injury and asked them about what activities they had. Found a couple local pool dives. And I think on my second pool dive, Jim Elliott said, "Well, what do you think about going to Mexico and getting actually in open water? I'm not just staring at the bottom of a pool." And I said, "Definitely, let's figure out how to do it." And
Awesome.
I think it was 2 months later. I'm pretty sure that was February of 2017. And in April of 2017, I went on my first dive trip to Cozumel. And it was just absolutely epic. All of
Awesome.
the amazing things that you can kind of see, when you're looking at a video and when you saw the documentary and stuff, you can kind of get a really good glimpse of it. But just all of the therapeutic, opportunities that happen with diving that you can't even really convey with words. It's everything about diving is absolutely amazing.
It's awesome. I haven't never dove. I I've snorkeled. I've never scuba dived. Our son, who actually kind of have a little bit in common with, our older one, he is a mechanical engineer. Actually, he went to engineering school with material science engineering and do mechanical engineer work. But he recently became certified scuba diver. And I was telling him about the program. I'm like, you should go and check out like how to be a trainer and because
Definitely.
yeah, you can do this all over. And him and his girlfriend did it together and they love it. It's like, yeah, he said, Mom, we do it in the pool and then we get in the ocean. It's unbelievable to get in the ocean and do it. You have to learn in the pool, obviously, but I'm intimidated by it. I'm not going to lie. It's one of those things where it's like, do I want to try it or do I want to just do it so I can say I've done it or to experience what you were just talking about? Or am I just going to live vicariously through other people? I don't have a burning desire to do it. I'm one of those people, if I have a fear, I like to go try it so I can not have the fear anymore. But I'm like, I just the whole breathing underwater thing, but I still would like to experience what all the cool things everyone talks about when they go do it.
It's amazing. I can't describe it in a different way. And there are a lot of people that talk to me that say, "I can't believe you're not afraid, of doing that." But to me, I've always been extremely comfortable in the water my whole life. I mean, I would encourage people not to do something that, they're uncomfortable with, but I would definitely encourage everybody to push their boundaries in terms of, it's important to get, I don't want to say get uncomfortable, but step into an area where you know that you're going to be able to grow and learn and achieve and try. Because if you would not have even attempted, then, even just the thought of talking about it is wasted. Why even, it's, I don't know.
I know, I love it. You're right. Get uncomfortable. And I was a
Exactly.
swimmer growing up. I'm comfortable in the water and in oceans and pools. And I swam competitively when I was younger. So it's not the water, it's concept of the breathing underwater
And
that's,
some
yeah.
people are like, well, what happens, if you run out of air or there's an issue with the air supply with Diveheart, and particularly when anybody is learning to dive, but in particular with adapted diving, there's a team of 4 divers. So it's me and 3 able-bodied individuals. And so each of us have two oxygen supplies, a couple inches, behind our neck, coming out of tubes. And so if there's an issue with one of your oxygen supplies, everybody has a second. And then if there's an issue with both oxygen supplies, there's an additional 3 extra that are within 10 or 15 feet away from you. So everybody can hold their breath for 6 seconds, or 7 seconds, because when you naturally breathe, unless you're hyperventilating, which if you're underwater and you're hyperventilating, there's really kind of a big issue, unless you have to swim really hard against a current. I can understand kind of using a lot of air, but everything underwater is just so calm and tranquil and beautiful, and it's surreal, like you're on a different planet.
Yes.
And you literally sort of are, because it's weightless and it's gravity defying. And for me, for example, I have absolutely no pain when I'm underwater. When you get just 2 atmospheres underwater, there's a natural release of serotonin. So your body gets a natural high. And then I'm seated almost all the time. Well, I'm extremely blessed. I've got a wheelchair that will stand me up with the push of a button, but it takes a long time, and it's not the most comfortable thing to do all the time, but I make sure to take a pressure break all the time. That's what kind of all wheelchair users have to do, because if you sit all day long, you'll develop a pressure sore, on your bottom, and that's a really bad thing. But anyways, gravity is enacting on all of us all the time. And so we have joint pain, and, like I was saying, I've got pain right now in my booty and in my feet, in my knees, in my hands. That's just from the weight of the earth interacting on us.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely gone, underwater, where there's nothing, that's pushing on me. There's nothing that's, confining, really any part of my body. I'm literally free to float and have that gravity defying weightlessness that lasts, half an hour to an hour underwater, depending on how long the dive is. And these effects don't just last for that half an hour dive. They usually, I can feel the effects and the pain-free feeling for a couple weeks, actually, after the dive. And so I'm really blessed after all the years. I am not actually on any pharmaceuticals or medications like that, but a lot of people who rely on medicine for nerve and joint pain can find themselves not having to use their medicine for a few weeks after diving, or if they dive habitually, they can get off of medicine.
Amazing. I had no
like
idea.
high blood pressure medicine, and like I was alluding to, the nerve pain, and even just mood altering medications that some people, may need after their injury, and to figure out how to, adapt to their new life. These things can, just be tossed away just with the scuba experience. And not just that, I would say the biggest thing about diving is just the achieving what, particularly for an adapted diver, what could seem impossible to others, because most people, they look at me and they see I'm a wheelchair user. And so when I tell them I'm a diver, or when they, hear of that, they're like, no way, come on. And you just show them a video, or, I tell them, what do I have to lie about? Here's the proof. I'm on Amazon. I'm world famous now. Right? It's absolutely amazing. So I would really encourage more people to get involved with it. But the independence and the strength building, and just me, for example, I guess everybody achieves more and more and grows more independent after their injury. But my first dive was a year after my injury, and I was living in my mom's house and getting help, transferring into, getting help transferring out of bed. Didn't, know how to drive, wasn't strong enough to drive. Again, living in my mom's house. And now it's been, in 1 month, it'll be 6 years after my injury, but it's been 5 years or 4.5 years since my first dive. I've got my license now. I live alone. I can independently put on my clothes and transfer my body out of bed. And that's not a big deal. Almost everybody can get out of bed, for most people, that's not a big deal. But me, I'm I'm paralyzed from my thumbs up, from the collarbone up, or excuse me, from the collarbone down, I'm paralyzed. So 20% of my body works. And of that 20%, my hands, they don't work. This is kind of how I pick things up and lift things, is with this tenodesis thing. So I can lift maybe 5 or 10 pound objects or something, but really my hands and my wrists and my triceps are extremely affected in my injury. So for me to be able to move, 140 pounds of my body while only using, the 40 pounds of muscle that I can actually move around, it took me 5 years to do that. But, with the help of diving, I'm really proud to say that I've got a job now. I'm on the board of a couple, groups in the community, in terms of advocacy groups that mean a lot to me. Like I said, I've got my license, but just the being able to be strong enough to finally get out of bed on my own is huge.
Wow.
Hard for most people to imagine never ever being able to sleep in, because when somebody comes into your door and they're there to get you out of bed, it's like, okay, it's time to start your day.
So whether you want to or not. Yeah.
A lot of times, years ago, and still every great once in a while, when I feel I want to have a pity party, I feel like a toddler. I'm a 36-year-old man, but I'm, in terms of being able to do some things like, my shower program, I might be able to eventually be able to do that, alone, but being able to actually scrub my entire body down and that kind of stuff, I can help with some daily activities still, but I don't know. I've really, really come a long way from the first month after my injury. My arms weren't strong enough to raise my hand off the bed, even to the height of my face.
Wow.
I had to get help, feeding myself. But my mom and dad and brother and, brothers and sisters had to feed me. They had to help me go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Talk about humbling and, a little bit humiliating at the beginning. Your kid sisters, helping you catheterize, but it's part of the process, I guess. I'd rather be here and be diving than, be dead. So I'm really thankful for all the people I've run into, particularly everybody at Diveheart.
How did you, when you saw that flyer, Chris, that you said you saw the flyer, so you called them, you're like, how can I do this? I want to try it. First of all, you had no idea all of the good things that were going to come from it. I'm sure you're just like, I just want to try this thing. You're saying you can help me, someone like me, do something like that. Sure, you can. But you had no idea all the good things, but you were drawn to it. Like, was it really that random that you saw that flyer somewhere? Did someone share the program with you?
Well, there was a cute girl on the flyer, so that was enticing as well, of course. But literally, when you're going from inpatient rehab to being stuck, at your family's house, oftentimes, that means I've got no transportation. My wheelchair weighs a few hundred pounds without me in it. So for me to go anywhere, there aren't even really wheelchair accessible taxis that come to the suburbs. So to be confined to your house, except for a ride a couple of days a week to therapy, to go from being, a 30-year-old, independent, homeowner living in, the suburbs of Indianapolis, to have everything literally stripped away from you, all of your independence, all of, your identity, just everything taken away from you in a 10-second freak accident. It's quite a reset, but, Diveheart and organizations like that are, what help people like me, and really what help everybody in the world get to where they need to be, whether it be with just the baby step of looking at a flyer and, going to volunteer at an organization to actually physically helping somebody, whether it be underwater or I've got a lot of friends who, bless their heart, they send me $5, during my birthday to help sponsor my trip. So for me, when I live at home, I've got a hospital bed that'll raise, if I need to independently get out of bed or raise the back of the bed to use the bathroom or whatever, I can do that. But in a hospital in Mexico, I can't. So I need somebody to help me do some independent things. So I wind up paying for 2 trips. But Diveheart even, does their best to help facilitate that with, sharing my crowdfunded and getting me in touch with other people who might be in a similar situation to see if we could, kind of share caregiver opportunity kind of thing. We've talked about that, and just really everyone there is just so selfless. I mean, they're just like me, have, all of the volunteers have paid, the same thing that I paid for a trip of helping others.
Yeah.
Like from like lifting me up physically, lifting my body up, putting me in the other wheelchair. My 400-pound wheelchair can't go on the boat. So I take my other wheelchair, my push wheelchair, they lift me up, put me in my other wheelchair, lift me in that other wheelchair up off the boat dock and carry me into the boat, help me put on sunscreen and help me put on my wetsuit.
Yeah.
Putting on a wetsuit, for a guy who's like 80% of his body's paralyzed is really tough.
Not fun. It's not fun for anyone. Yeah, I can imagine. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they help me, lift my body up in all of the gear, put me on the boat transom, help me underwater. Like I am, their child. They literally treat me like gold, or like, I'm their best friend or their cousin or something like that. And everybody is just really in it. Maybe, for the whole greater cause, but it's kind of funny because helping other people and being there to support, the greater good and to, help Johnny, get stronger, also makes you feel good and makes your heart swell up. So it's like, it's kind of interesting. It's a wonderful way to be selfish because it's so selfless.
Yeah.
It's obviously everything about Diveheart is just amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the light in your eyes, Chris. I'm glad you're here to share your story and talk to people and share this message of Diveheart and all the great things they're doing. And it's people like you that keep it all going and then help other people understand. Without the stories, you don't understand the depth of it. So I a little bit I did with Jim because I followed his work and I had him on my podcast and stuff, but to see the movie and hear stories of people just like you that have either had accidents or just, had an illness, whatever it was, and be able to like look at what they're doing with their lives and look at all these people that are helping them to achieve different things and how they're going about being positive, and they could just be crying and not having that great of a life. And I mean, obviously it could be a completely different life for you. And we wouldn't know about that unless people were telling their stories. And I know it takes a lot of vulnerability and strength to tell your story. And, maybe it seems pretty easy for you. Maybe it's not easy for you, but you do a beautiful job doing it. But you would never know what people are experiencing unless you're telling their story. So thank you for telling them. And I just love having you on, and it'll be fun to share. I've been sharing the movie and I'll keep sharing the movie to have people see it and hear your story. I'm sure there's all kinds of fun people you're meeting now that you wouldn't have met if you were in this movie.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me just ask you one final question. What's like one new thing you're taking away from our conversation today that popped in your mind or that you're reminded of, or just something?
A new thing. I don't know if it's new. I'm just oftentimes reminded of how small the world really is and how wonderful a place it is, because just, with two people here having a conversation, how many lives, that could affect. Jim had this idea. Jim has a couple actually children who are disabled and started with downhill skiing, blind downhill skiing, right. But eventually led to, the whole Diveheart organization. So this one person or this one, group of people, this organization have now touched so many hundreds of thousands of lives. It's really amazing. So there is so much good still left in the world. And just, the world really is a small place, and it's nice to be here.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many amazing people. I choose to spend my time thinking about them and how I can be around them, and which is why I have the podcast. I get to have awesome people like you on to talk to them and then share their stories, and other people get to hear them and share them. And we just keep paying it forward. I like to think of it that way instead of just, there's always something you could complain about, but does that make you feel any better? Probably not, right? And taking what you're given and doing something better with it and making yourself better and the people around you better is what it's all about. So you're doing that, and thank you. Thank you for being on and sharing your story, and I can't wait to see what else you do.
Thanks so much, Julie. I really appreciate your time.
It's been awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. I know you're being inspired. Check out the movie Adapting to Dive, everyone. It's on Amazon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. I hope you loved this episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review, and share it. I hope you were truly inspired. And for a little more inspiration, don't forget to pick up my book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective: 8 Secrets to Serenity and Satisfaction in Your Life and Career. I can't wait to get you love in your life.